Hi, I'm Mike Sibley.
And I'm Carrie Boynton. We're the leaders of the James Moore manufacturing team. On this episode of Moore Manufacturing, we're joined by John Louizes, owner of Zeno's Boardwalk Sweet Shop, home of the world's most famous taffy, to discuss the sweet and salty sides of transition planning. We've been speaking to experts about transition planning, but who better to talk on it than someone who has been through it? John, you transitioned into the family business that was owned and operated by your father, Zeno, the namesake of the company. Now that your son, also named Zeno, is getting into his teen years, you're starting to bring him into the business. So you're going to be seeing both sides of generational transition. All that being said, I guess my first question for you would be, what's your favorite flavor of taffy?
I'd probably have to go with probably fruit punch or tropical punch. I'm a fruity kind of guy. I don't like the black licorices and cinnamons and all those. So key lime, watermelon, fruit punch, can't go wrong with those.
Very good, very good. Well, just kidding, but really, give us some history on the business and why you decided to get involved back then.
Sure. So we've been in business. I like to tell people we're the other family-owned company from Daytona Beach that started in 1948. The other one, of course, is NASCAR. So I'm a third-generation candy maker. We have the store on the Boardwalk that's been there since 1948. My great uncle Tom started it back then. My father took it over in 1963, and then I took it over in 2003. And we were just, when I met Mike for the very first time, we were just a one-shop operation on the Boardwalk. And right around 2004, and I was content to be that one-store operator the rest of my life. The Boardwalk is, even now, and especially now in COVID, is absolutely thriving and jamming and rocking and rolling. But we had those hurricanes in 2004, and then it got me thinking, this could very well not be here one time if some natural disaster were to happen. So I had to start branching out and looking for things to do to help, as like a backup plan. And so what we had started doing is we opened another store on the west coast of Florida. And our kitchen there was no bigger than the office I'm in right now, and we at the Boardwalk, and we used to make everything there, and it was just like a nightmare. And we bought a little building in 2010, 2011. We started making candy and ice cream there. And then about 2016, we moved into our facility now at the Sunshine Park Mall, where we make all the taffy and ice cream. We have a retail store there, and that we're probably getting rid of that one pretty soon, just because we've outgrown it. It was just there to have, like, for people to come let them watch us make the candy and ice cream. But unfortunately, I think they're going to be getting the boot now. So they'll have to go to the Boardwalk or St. Augustine or Madeira Beach or the website, which, has become its own business. And technology is, I think, the advancements of online and all that stuff has really propelled me, not so much on the retail side of things, but more on the wholesale side of things, because I've worked with both of y'all many times. I'm not so much of a salesperson in terms, I'm not great at knocking on doors and getting people to buy my candy, but what I feel I am good at is just talking about my business on Facebook, LinkedIn, all those different avenues of social media, where people who are potentially interested in buying candy will then reach out to me. And that makes it very easy for me to talk to someone. I do not like rejection. I am not interested. If my wife didn't ask me out, we'd still probably not be married and going back and forth of what's going on. So I've just been very lucky to be born in a time where people were able to find me, and because I do believe our products are outstanding. So it just made it all that much easier for it. But here we are today, and like you said, Carrie, earlier, Zeno's getting ready to turn 13 in a couple of weeks, and I've been putting him to the grind the last like since summer started. And he's got to help. He's with me too. He's got to help me sign, ready to go. So, but I've been very lucky that growing up in a family business, I got to spend a lot of time with my mom and dad. And now, whether they like it or not, Zeno and CJ get to spend a lot of time with me and Christina. So it's a great balance, and I'm very happy to be where I am.
Well, Johnny, I actually, since I've met you, I don't think I've ever known you to be content with anything. So, I remember all those conversations back then, and it didn't take long before you were thinking about this, that, and the other thing. So,
Yeah.
it's been really successful with what you've done. It's been a lot of fun to watch too.
We're an overnight success, 73 years in the making. And like, I can't even imagine, Mike and I have had many discussions over the years, and things I wish I knew back then and all that other stuff. And my little advice I always like to give people who are gonna start, who will start getting into manufacturing, is it's always the first thing I tell them is your product does not cost you what it think it costs you. It costs a lot more than that. And when you're running out of a small little kitchen on the back of your store, which the retail side of things is covering the rent, the utilities, everything, all the overhead pretty much, you could sell your candy out of there, and it's basically all profit because everything else goes. Well, when you start to get on a big scale side of things, and Mike would tell me, nah, man, taffy is $2 a pound. And I'm like, hey, there's no way it's that much. I'm telling you, like, this is back, 10, 15 years ago. I'd be like, nah, it's $1.20 a pound. It's like, well, who's paying for the lights? And I'm like, I don't know. So it was a whole eye-opening, jaw-dropping experience, which I still, once a year I get really detailed, and I'm like, all right, Mike, this, and that. And then a week later, I just get pulled in all different kinds of directions, and I let it go by the wayside. So we just been very lucky that we've had some very successful retail locations that have helped drive the production, which has allowed us to then branch out to those customers that want to buy from us, because candy is very price sensitive. As great as I think it is, I'm not competing against other taffy companies. I'm competing against gummy bear companies, against Jelly Bellies, because you've got that retail space that you got to buy it for. So you've got to get a good product that is at a good price point. So we've been very lucky right now. We haven't really gone into the package side of things where you would see in a retail store like a 7-Eleven, Walmart, but we're more bulk selling more to stores like mine, like on the Boardwalk. So they have like their little niches and all that other stuff. So
well, I will say though, despite your costing problems that you struggle with in your mind, you do some pretty good spreadsheets. Johnny and I have gone through spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet. We got to get together and say, how does this work and how does that work? But it's one of those things that I guess, to your point, you got to understand, you understood the operational side extremely well. Trying to bring that and connect it with, okay, what does this mean from a financial side, was critical to making sure you could price properly, make sure you could hire people, all the things that go along with that. And that's a lot of what our discussions have been over the years, is connecting, making those dots connect.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by people that are great in whatever it is they do. We were in Vegas a couple years ago, and the bartender there, he was making drinks with these two hands, looking at us, making 4 drinks, and to me. And so when I made that, I'll never forget, I made that first spreadsheet. It was like 10 years ago, and I sent it to Mike. I go, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And he goes, without sounding like a nerd, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So I was like, all right, Mike's one of those numbers guys that I'm like, oh, he loves this the way I love candy. So it was really easy to work with someone like that, because then I got excited, trying to really fine tune some things down. And we still use those spreadsheets to this day. And they've been a very, very good thing to have, because I can always go back and kind of see, all right, but we still don't do a great job of that. We do a good job to where we can kind of catch up if we need to.
So it sounds like, obviously understanding your cost is incredibly important, but also having the right people on your team. It sounds like you're really happy that you brought Mike into the team. Is there anybody else that you brought into your team, just from an industry standpoint, attorney, insurance, that you couldn't live without?
Sure. So with I like to think of myself as somewhat of a narcissist, but like a humble one. So one of my many gifts is I know what I don't know. And I have no ego when it comes to having someone come in and tell me otherwise. Like I said, Mike with the pricing of the candy, I had to sit back, look back, and my wife, she will tell you I've never lost an argument because if I say 2 + 2 = 3, and she can show me it's for argument, there's no argument. I'm like, oh, I'm wrong. Like, but the only time I ever get adamant or anything in general is I know I'm 100% right. There's no change. Like, and so remind me your question again. Oh, with people. Yeah. So people that I can't live without, been very blessed, in a time with the post-COVID era of people not being able to find help, I didn't lose anybody. And, I've had my plant manager, Tim, with me for 11 years. I've had our store manager, store manager is Christian, who watches all the stores for the same amount of time. They've both been with me since we started the production, started producing and manufacturing. And then we've got a whole group of people that have been with me 5, 6, 7 years. But we've been very fortunate, when I really wanted to get into making the saltwater taffy, my dad begged me not to. He said, you don't know the headaches, you're not a machine guy, you're not, you don't know these problems. But another benefit of being born of when I was born is you can find, the company that makes these machines that cut and wrap the taffy. Well, you can call them up nowadays or look them up online and say, hey, we have an issue with this machine. They'll tell you, oh, we've got a person in South Carolina so in the beginning, it was a lot of flying down these different consultants to come and help tweak the machines because, we were just a retailer. And it wasn't until I started really making the taffy that I really had to start. My dad made taffy right until we were born, and then we had it subcontracted out like my whole life pretty much. And that's why, because it was a pain in the butt. He's 100% right. Like, I should have listened to him because, oh my goodness. But I love doing what I do, and and Mike said it too, I just don't know if I can stay put in the same place over and over and over again, even though I'm a creature of habit and you could put me in a room by myself and I'm totally content. At the same time, I think I love growth more than anything because it's my ego, it's somewhat feeding my ego, and I need to check that sometimes because now I feel very comfortable in the sense of with the amount of business we have, with the amount of work I put in. I'm not really interested in taking something that's going to take my time away from my wife and kids. So I like coaching soccer. I like, if I can do a deal and I can still work the same amount of hours, I'm great. If not, when they get out of college or if they want to take over whatever, they can start worrying about that.
Well,
I'm very lucky with Tim, with Christian, with Justin, with obviously Christina. Is the best decision I ever made was marrying her. I feel sorry for you guys when you need a straight answer from me on anything financial. I'm like, I wonder if they're doing like rock, scissors, paper who has to deal with this idiot. So you back, and they're like, I just send it to Christina. And so I think you guys.
I'm really glad when Christina gets involved in the conversation.
Yeah, it's going to get done. And so
it's just her and I talking.
Yeah, she's 4 people. I mean, the one thing, when we were shut down last year, Christina helped out. She always handled the web orders and stuff, but she wasn't really involved with, bookkeeping, HR, and, with people in general. And so when we shut down, it was just me and her, because we were still getting web orders. The stores might have been closed, but all of a sudden she started doing 4 drops. So she has been, I think, the main reason for success post-COVID is how much she's taken on. And she just makes my life a lot easier because then I can focus on production. That's all I care about. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to be in that kitchen, looking over, making sure everything's going good. And I'm very hands-on. But I have an awesome group of people.
Well, I think one of the things that has been interesting over the years too, jumping back to finance a little bit, you mentioned Tim. Well, in all of our conversations when we were looking at P&Ls and costing and all that kind of stuff, he was always involved in the conversation. He knew exactly where you were at, anything that we needed to work on, things that we did to improve processes, to improve the organization as a whole, which I think, to me, that's a sign of a organization, no matter what size, that's successful by bringing key people in so they can help you make the right decisions. I always was really impressed with your willingness to bring him into that conversation.
Oh yeah, because he's he's my right hand man there, and it's important because a lot of times employees in general, not mine, but like sometimes them as well, they just don't have an overall idea of what's going on in my head or what I'm trying to do. So as an employee, you don't like change, and as someone who wants to grow, all I want is change, and it's like this weird cat and mouse game where as long as you explain it to everyone what's going on, there's a reason why I need you to do 300 pounds of taffy an hour. I'm not doing it because I'm trying to be a jerk. I'm doing it because that's what I have it priced at, and so anything more than that costs money, and so it wasn't until I started involving them, and signing them up for classes through the VMA that we have here in Volusia, and telling them, hey, there's a reason why, stop wasting steps. I want to make your life easier. I'm not doing anything, I promise, to make you harder, because everything you've done, every mistake you'll make, everything, I've done it 5,000 times. So I'm just trying to help avoid you doing that. But like you said, Mike, involving them in those conversations, they were less likely to, I feel, resist any kind of changes, because when you're going from making just 20 batches a day to all of a sudden I need 40, but I'm telling you, if we can do it and it's not that much issue, but they get it, and they just, now it's a team where when we get these monster, I mean, we're shipping out truckloads every week now, and when we're getting these orders, the excitement between them of like, oh my goodness, I can't believe we're getting, like, how much more can you get? And I'm just sitting there, and it's not like so they have taken pride. They bought in, and it comes from just, I think, from being there for a long time, and that, they're family now. They've been there as I argue with them just as much outside as I do inside. So, but they make me cry from laughing and so hard at the same time too. So I have a great time at work. I mean, when I'm there, all we do is joke around, and while we work, I refuse to believe there's another husband and wife couple that can work together as hard as Christina and I work. So but my parents did the same thing. It's so funny. My dad got all the credit. He's Zeno. And my mom behind was doing everything. But he was like, hi, it has not skipped a generation. We're exactly the same. Christina does all the hard work. I'm here with you guys.
So that being said, have you talked to little Zeno about choosing the right wife? I think that might be the most crucial factor that we've heard here.
I have told him that I don't care where he goes to school. I don't care what the most important decision he'll ever make is picking the right wife. And unfortunately, he'll never do as good as I did, because he's better looking than me. He's smarter than I am. I go, the one thing you will never beat me on is picking a wife. So it's the most important decision they can make. And with two boys who potentially might, I was fortunate to have a brother that wasn't interested in the candy business. So I hope both of them want to be involved. I know, in the future, I could see Zeno being in charge of the marketing or whatever, and CJ being in charge of the financial side of things. So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Just I hope I can grow big enough to where they both have their own kind of thing, and then let them take off with it. And I'll just I've told Mike before, I'm gonna die in that factory.
And I believe it. Yeah. Hopefully at the ripe old age.
I plan on making them as miserable as my dad made me. And but he didn't make me that miserable for me to really want to get involved with it. Because after UF, after I went to school away for UF, I came back. I knew exactly I wanted to be in the candy business, and to be born into a business that I loved so much, you can't ask more for that.
So do you think you'll do anything different with the boys than maybe your dad did? Or are you going to give them the same hard time?
Before my dad passed away, we were in Greece one summer, and he was telling me these stories about all the stuff his uncle did to him to make him miserable. And it was like me telling my friends all the stuff my dad does to me. And I was like, you have learned nothing then. You learned nothing. Like, like every complaint you have about your field Tom, I had them about you. So I'm pretty, I like to say I'm pretty tough on him. Just because I feel like, when I die, I want to come back as my kids because they've had like the most charmed life ever. I had an amazing childhood. These guys make me look like I grew up like in a third world country. But my goal with them is to keep them interested and like motivated in staying in the business. I do not want them to hate it. Like, even with their report cards, I'm very lucky. They're both good students. But I'm just going to find the things that they do well on. I don't worry about the bad grade. As long as they try their hardest, I don't worry about the bad grades. They don't get bad grades, but not when they get a B or whatever. I want them to be good at whatever they're good at, and I'm going to help them triple down on that. Like, because you put me in anything besides making candy, oh my goodness, I don't know what. I'm the laziest person involved. I mean, outside of the factory, I'm extremely lazy. My wife does everything at home too. So I love what I do. And people usually aren't lazy, they're just not passionate. And I'm, very passionate about being where I am.
Well, on a side note, you don't seem very lazy about your guitar playing and singing either. That's one of the things I think everybody's got to check your Facebook out because you'll be singing in the shop, literally singing in the shop.
Yeah, so I'm I guess I'm a boy band / heavy metal rocker at heart that I just never got out to do that. Yeah, that's part of, staying fun at work. We've got some great skits in time that we have planned for the fall. We want to start shooting like a factory version of The Office, where I play like the Michael Scott, bumbling idiot character. It's not going to be that much of a stretch, but we've got some really good ideas that I think 1, 2, 3 minute videos that could we've been crying thinking about it. So it's we just. We got to have things slow down. It's just so busy. There's no time to do it right now. So, but we're, as a reward, that's part of so if we work a 40-hour work week, I'd really like, 36 or 37 hours of work. And then I want to do something 3 hours a week of just fun, something fun to break up the monotony. So it's just not a work and they all feel like we're doing something different than just making candy. So, and I think something like this, with the Zeno's branding and all the other stuff is just going to play off big and it'll get people. I mean, I'll tell you guys off the air, but I just think they're going to be, I just can't imagine them not being super, super funny if done well. So we just got to do them well.
Now, it sounds like a great time. Johnny, thank you for joining us today. A lot of interesting tidbits about being a family-owned business and that transition. So really appreciate your time here. Make sure everybody you check out Zeno's. Like Johnny said, you can order on the web. You can visit their shops. Great taffy and other candy to go along with it. So check them out. Again, thank you for being here, and I hope everybody has a good rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
To learn more about James Moore & Company's manufacturing services, go to jmco.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our More on Manufacturing series to receive updates when new videos and podcasts are released. If you'd like to be a guest, or if there's a topic you'd like to see covered on a future episode, contact us on our website. You can also follow us on social media for more news as the landscape on manufacturing continues to rapidly evolve.